I think the internet has changed what the word boundaries means. Um, I think they've made it all about putting boundaries are things that you place on other people. When instead, I think it's more about rules that you place upon yourself. Um, I don't think it's about controlling other people. It's about controlling yourself and what you can handle. Um, for instance, like somebody, you're talking about a certain topic and somebody says, hey, stop that. If you talk about that ever again, I'm never talking about it. Um, I find that a little bit abrupt, because there are some situations when, sure, yeah, you got to speak up. Like if somebody's abusing you, then that's a bit different. But I think the internet has put this focus on, if somebody says something that maybe you don't like, then they're toxic people and you need to, evacuate. And it's one of these all or nothing kind of rules. And I find boundaries are, well, hey, they're all individually and personal. But not everybody's the same, and everybody's toxic, man. Like, there's not one person out there, not you, not me, nobody. We all have some level of toxicity. And everybody you meet has their own unique brand of who they are. And you have so many different people that come in and out of your life for different reasons that, some are super tight-knit, close friends that help you through whatever. Some people are your work buddies and they help you through work, and you can gossip and rant and chat and whatever you want to do. But would you be friends with them like at a bar? Maybe not. Some people you can go camping with, but you can't do anything else with. Some people you game with online or board games, if you're my age. I mean, I come from that era. But it's all about different people add different value. And so, I don't know, it's like when you get invited to somebody's wedding that you're just meh with. And you go there, you don't walk in and tell them what your rules are and how long you're staying. You sit there, maybe you're with your husband, your spouse, whatever. And you say, you know what, this person, she really gets on my last nerve. Like, we're in and we're out. That is literally a boundary you've just set. And I feel that is really what it's all about. I think we look at different people and think, oh, it's my mother, so it's different. Like my mom, I've gone no contact with her on and off many times. And when I ended up finding what worked was, I think when I realized that it wasn't about her. I mean, at that point, the woman is like, I don't know, 50, 60 years old. She's not about to change. So at some point, and maybe she will when she gets to her own aha moments and decides she wants to change. But in general, I can't affect change on somebody else. I can only affect it on myself. So I decided that I would not walk in abruptly and be like, okay, Mom, if you talk to me in this tone, we're not going to talk about this subject, because I'm out of here. That just wasn't working. And it was just creating a bigger rift between us. So I decided that I would just create silent boundaries for myself, silent little rules. Like when I walked in, if she had guests that I didn't want to be around, maybe I'd say, hey, I just popped in to say hi, and I'd leave, and I'd change, why I was there or whatever. There were certain things that, yes, I did have full on. I had to tell her beforehand, like she was a heavy smoker and I am asthmatic, big time asthmatic. Thanks, Mom. And my son was asthmatic. So when he was a little baby, if she wanted to see her grandson, well, she had to come to me. So that was definitely a rule that I had made. And that if she wanted to see her grandson at her own home, there couldn't be any smoking, which made it hard because she was older then, and her house smelled. So you couldn't just walk in. I remember one time my son he was just a baby, like 2 maybe, like not even. And my mom was so excited that I was going to come and bring her firstborn, grandchild to her, that she knew about the smoking. So she opened every window in her apartment. She was a corner apartment, so there was like a huge cross breeze. And when I walked in, it was minus like 40 in her Celsius, by the way, for Americans, in her apartment, because it was winter, dead of winter here. And it may not have been minus 40, it's probably about minus 20. But I had to literally stay bundled up with my son and keep my winter coat on. And she was sitting there in her winter coat, literally shivering, going, I'm so excited to see you. And I thought, holy Jolie's, like, I can't be making my mom change. Now, that never happened again because we switched it up. So she would come visit him at my house. And if she wanted to smoke, she went outside. So that was an actual rule. That's a bit different, I think, than a boundary. Sometimes boundaries happen accidentally, like when my mom decided to move an hour and a bit away from me. Hey, that was like the best accidental boundary because she was too far to visit, to go all the time. But she was certainly not far enough that I had to stay overnight. And thank goodness for that, because it wouldn't have worked. So I could easily go around nap times and be like, okay, we got to go. It's so-and-so's nap time. Or as the kids got older, they have a project, they have they have something school, they have soccer, they have X, Y. So that made that boundary a little bit easier to reinforce. But I never walked in and said, if you say this, I'm out of here. I guided my subjects. I stayed away from things I didn't want to talk about. If my mom said something that I deemed offensive, because finding something offensive that somebody says doesn't necessarily mean they're toxic. And I think I had to really play with what the word toxicity meant to me. And that maybe I said crap that she didn't want to know either. Maybe she didn't like my belief system. Maybe she didn't like, the way I was raising my son versus how she was raising hers. And I had to take a lot of that into account. And I had to factor in that she had a history. She was raised in the Children's Aid Society. She was abused a lot. She had a life that formed who she was. And it's kind of like alcoholics. My mom was one for a major part of my life. She was a recovering alcoholic for the rest of it. But anybody who knows when an alcoholic is great and they're not drinking, they're wonderful when they're the love of your life and they're people in your life that you love. But when they're bad and they're drinking, they are toxic. So I always try to remember that behind the issue was a kind, loving person at heart. And let's face it, she raised me, and I thought I was a pretty good kid. I wasn't into trouble as a kid. I've raised, my kids are adults now, and I would arguably say that I've got some pretty good kids, adults now, that have good heads on their shoulders. And I did it without doing the things my mother did to me. So if we look at it from the point of view, everybody has their idiosyncrasies, and sometimes we're embarrassed because we're a younger generation from our parents, and we think, oh goodness, she didn't just say that, did she? Oh no. That doesn't make them toxic. It means that they're from a different generation and a different time, and it is what it is. So boundaries for me were about me, not about my parents, my mother, my sisters, my spouse, my whatever. Only in certain situations, if there was like a physical problem, like if it physically, of course, if my mother was going to start calling me names, well, then that would be a bit different of a situation. And I'm referring to just everyday situations when you're trying to keep a little bit of a relationship going, but not fully immerse in it. And I really think that the universe presents us with these people. And I don't mean our parents as these people, but people in general, that everybody offers you something different. And people that challenge you, I don't look at it anymore. And I will say anymore, because I did used to look at it as in, what the heck? What is the universe doing to me? Why? I don't deserve this. I look at it as now an opportunity to hone my skills and say, what do I need to learn from this? There's got to be some opportunity here. Maybe I have to look at myself and say, what is it? Why is it that I don't accept that? I don't like this person's political views. I don't like whatever. But is there something more? And is there a better payoff in the end? Is it worth me putting up with a few things or, to get a better payoff? And in my mother's case, I'm going to keep using her. The payoff was much better because my children got to know their grandmother, because I believe every human being has the right to know their lineage, their heritage, their people. Because I was deprived of mine growing up. My mother is my mother, but I was deprived of knowing my biological father, and that affected me profoundly. And it's what sparked genealogy joy for me, which is another video. But it teaches you that everybody's different, and everything is about you. And the internet makes it about me, but not that kind of way. They make it about, I'm important. If you say something I don't like, that, maybe this is a Gen Z thing, I don't know, where we just learn to adapt to other people. And maybe that's what boundaries are, learning to adapt to other people. I don't know. I don't have all the answers, but maybe actually, that is actually a really good way of thinking of it. Gen Z, we had to learn really to adapt. We didn't have, we were put in crappy situations, and we're like, oh, we couldn't just say, well, gotta go, because we were kids. We had to adapt to the fact that our parents left us with a key around our neck and go home at 6 years old. Because let me tell you, I did that in Toronto, in a really bad neighborhood, and walked many, many meters, which, probably about a kilometer, as a 6-year-old by myself with a key on me on a main street at Finch and Warden. That's a big problem by today's standards. But I adapted. And I think boundaries are really about people adapting to their environment. And I think that, unfortunately, our generation of Gen X parents has done a disservice to our children, because we had to adapt so much. We became the opposite. We coddled, we helicoptered, we did everything because we just knew. And we didn't want to put our kids in that same situation of loneliness and not feeling seen, that I think we oversaw. And I think society may be paying the price for that right now. And I truly, truly, I'll blame that on our generation, because we have created this me, because we were that parent that made it a me. And it's sad, kind of, but every generation creates their own legacy, if you want to call it. And yeah, people are flawed. Everybody's flawed. And I just believe that to think that I can make you stop talking about a subject that I don't like, it's kind of not cool, and it's not my business. If I don't like it, then I gotta look at why I don't like it, and either change why I don't like it, or find a reason to tiptoe around it, or, without being abused, because I keep putting that as a caveat, because you can't accept abuse. There's, there are limits. I think there's different types of boundaries. There's physical, like if something bad's happening to you, but I can't control what people say or do, and it is what it is. So I think I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm babbling right now, but I think that's probably my take on boundaries, that they're not, the internet is changing the narrative of what a boundary is. And I think the internet, social media, has changed the narrative of what a lot of things are. And sitting back as a Gen Xer watching this, I think, what? This is insane. And I know I can't be the only one. We just don't see a lot of Gen Xers out there doing what I'm doing. I think I'm getting cranky and tired, and I need to vent. Maybe that's what this is all about. Anyway, if there's any part of boundaries that you want me to expand on, let me know. And maybe I could do better than flying, in a rant stage. I'm new to this, so I'm not really doing edits. I just babble on, get a couple ideas, thoughts, write them down, and then go with it. So, yeah, it ties into the no contact thing. And that's why I felt that it was important, because I have different boundaries for my mother, who's my biological mother. I had different boundaries for my father, or my biological father, who I met as an adult. That's another video. And I have boundaries for my dad, who by most standards would be what you would call my stepfather, but he's my dad. And even my, no, I don't have boundaries with my kids, actually. That's one place I don't have them, but things are different with us. But, and even my half siblings. So boundaries are, they're variables, man. They're different. And I think when you look at them as at yourself, that part of the me equation, not me, I get what I want me, but me, oh, why? You know, look at your whys and what's going on. I think you might find it a lot easier to handle boundaries and handle other people. I put up with a lot, I use the term put up. I put up with a lot of people that many people, you know, are shocked that I do. Maybe I'm a chameleon of sorts, and actually I have been called that by some, that I'm a bit of a chameleon, and that's probably another Gen X issue. And that's a good topic as well. Anyway, hope this might have helped somebody, and maybe somebody can relate. Maybe not. Maybe I'm out left field. I don't know. Have a good day.